You're probably asking yourself, how would I get to $20,000 a month in profit consistently in the next 16 weeks without actually getting burnt out and while being able to still get your clients amazing results within your real estate coaching business? This video is going to be for the realtor, the agent, or the investor that's looking to get started in coaching, or you've already started your coaching business, but you don't really know what the hell you're doing when it comes to marketing or how to properly build it. So whether you're just getting started and you want to build some momentum, or you have clients that signed up and you're ready to finally scale your coaching business, or you started it but you've been stuck and you want to be able to get out of that rut, well, make sure to stick around to the end so you can see how this entire process works. What I'm going to be covering in this video is the exact framework that I am using to build out my new consulting business to work with real estate coaches such as yourself and helping you reach $20,000 a month without getting burnt out and building your business the right way where you're going to get the client results, you have a lean team of 1 to 2 people, and you have high profit margins with much less stress. I used to run a content marketing agency and I was not happy with it. I struggled for a very long time because I depended on a lot of cold outreach and referrals. So I would have a lot of months where I made a ton of money, and then I had months where I was ready to shut that shit down and I was pulling all my hair out. During that time, I was still running my agency. I worked with mostly investors and realtors, helping them to build their personal brand. Now, one of my clients, and he's still a client today, is an investor and wanted to pivot to coaching. So we had a few meetings to figure out what would be the best way to launch it, price it, structure it, all that good stuff. At that time, I didn't really know much besides just being able to create content to attract the attention. So I took the time to learn and study different funnels, methods, and strategies. Now, I've been working with him over the last few months and trying to figure out what strategies work and what doesn't. Once we actually got into it, I realized myself that I didn't want to continue running my agency, and I wanted to get more into consulting, helping and teaching other investors and agents how to build their real estate coaching business as well. That's exactly how my consulting business was born. Now, in the process of building it, I'm going to be using the exact framework that I'll be going over in this video to structure it, to price it, to market it, and sell it. You can use the framework for yourself, and I'm going to show you exactly how in 6 different stages so that you can see the entire framework and how it's going to work and all comes together. After watching this, you should have everything that you need to get out there and start to scale your real estate coaching business. So the 6 stages that we're going to cover to start or build your real estate coaching business are going to be 1, lifestyle design, 2, business design, 3, money metrics, 4, launchpad, 5, feedback, and then the very last one is going to be scaling and consistency. Broken down into 16 different weeks in a perfect world, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about when we go through the different stages. Stage 1 is going to take you through week 1. Stages 2 through 5 are going to be week 2 to about week 5 or 6. Then stage 6 is going to be between week 6 and 7, all the way to the final week, week 16. Now, this is going to be a much longer video. This is going to be a full-on training, so stay with me to the end. It's going to be worth it. You'll know exactly everything you need. So let's jump right into stage 1. So stage 1 is going to be your lifestyle design. This is going to be the most important of all the stages. We first need to figure out what we want our life to be before we start building a business. Life and business, they're not separate. Your business is always going to need more from you as you continue to grow. There's never going to be a point in your business where you're just going to say, oh, hands up, I'm done. It's just going to keep on growing. Business is a forever and ongoing process. What most people do is they're going to build the business first and then design the life around it. This is where initially I messed up with my content agency because I grew it first and I ended up working 12-hour days. I wasn't happy with it, and then I tried to build a traveling lifestyle around it, and it got very, very difficult. You are cheating yourself and the people that are most important to you when you decide to do business first and then your life second. Your business is going to dictate what your lifestyle looks like. So I really sat down for about 30 days thinking about how I wanted to execute my new consulting business. And so this framework is going to show you exactly that But you can also customize it to how you want to build your real estate coaching business. Some people want to make $100,000 a month and others want to sell $1 million a month. Those are two completely different businesses and lifestyles. This framework that we're going to cover here is going to be more about having a business that's going to serve you. This is for people that want to make between $20,000 a month and $200,000 a month and still have the time to be with their family, be able to travel, be present, have time to work on personal growth, and actually have the time to just sit still and think. $1 million a month business means bigger teams, meetings on meetings, less time with loved ones, and just less time overall. Nothing wrong with wanting that, but this video is just not going to be for you. We're building more of a lifestyle business. So I'll give you some of my personal goals and examples so you can kind of see what kind of lifestyle I want to design. And so the way that I look at business is looking at the end goal of what I want my life to look like. I want the business to fuel my lifestyle. I want a lifestyle where I can actually work about 4 hours a day, take my coaching calls 2 days out of the week. The other days I can focus on marketing and creating content, which is something that I love to do, and then have the rest of the afternoon for me to be able to go and do whatever it is that I want. I want to be able to have choice and I want to be able to have freedom. I'm currently single right now and I don't have kids, but I want to be able to spend time with my family, my future family, travel to different countries, and then be able to stay for either a few weeks or a few months at a time. Now, I'm also a homebody. So for me, I want to be able to build a house or buy a house that has everything that I ever want so that I don't need to leave. And then when asked how much money do I want to make, I used to do what everybody else does. Oh, I want to make $10 million a year. Oh, I want to make $20 million a year. The question is, why do we jump to those numbers? Why do we assume that that's what we want? If you took the time to actually sit down, break down what it costs to have the life that you want, you would actually be surprised to learn that it takes a lot less money than you think. My financial goal would be to make $100,000 a month to $200,000 a month and making $1 million in profit every year. I can have that exact lifestyle that I just explained for actually less than $1 million a year. There are two parts to think about when you're designing your lifestyle. How much time do you want to spend on a daily basis within your coaching business? What do you want that time to look like? That's the first part. The second part is going to be to challenge yourself to think about some of the material things that you actually want in your life. So things like your houses, cars, boats, planes, whatever it is you want. What do those things actually cost? What does your dream home cost? What does your dream car cost? How much are you willing to sacrifice to attain them? So ask yourself these questions. What life do you want to live? How many children do you want to have? Maybe you have all the children that you want right now and you want to start traveling. Well, how often do you want to travel? What are your financial goals? What numbers do you actually need to hit for this lifestyle? Do you want to just pay off your debts and live the exact same way? Are you trying to live a bit more luxurious? Plan out what you want that to look like. What does your dream home look like? And then what does that cost? If you're more on the materialistic side of things and you love things like, let's say, cars, well, how many cars do you want? What kind of cars do you want? What are they actually going to cost you? So again, you want to be able to go through these questions and figure out what it is. So some of the key takeaways here in this stage, ending it out, you want to take the time right now or this weekend to just really sit on this one and think. Spend the time designing your lifestyle before you actually start building a coaching business. Your business should fuel your life and not the other way around. There's a bunch of different ways that you can build a business, but the path that you choose is going to dictate your daily life, your team management, the type of clients that you work with, your revenue, and also your profits. So now we jump over to stage 2. Once you have your lifestyle design and how you want your life to look like, now we actually design what the business is going to be. So this is going to be much easier than designing your life, and it'll take a lot less time to think about it. The great thing about the coaching business is that you can grow pretty quickly and you can start to make $20,000 a month to $100,000 a month within a 16-week period if you follow the framework and you structure your business correctly. What it's going to come down to is how much do you want to be making per month? That's number one. Then you want to figure out the number of clients that you want to work with. How much are they going to pay you? And then how big is your team? Who do you actually need on your team? So here's an example for my business. And in most of this training, again, this is the framework that I'm going to be using. So I'll be using my business as a reference so that you can see how this will all work. So the first thing is I want to be making $20,000 a month in profit consistently over the next 16 weeks. Now, my expenses, I'm going to keep them around $7,000 to about $9,000 a month. That's going to include my team members, softwares, and my ad budget. Now, when we're looking at profit margins, I'm going to be aiming for 80%. But when we're just starting off, we want to be a little bit more conservative. So we're shooting for about that 70% range. Once you have an idea of what you'd like to be making monthly, then you figure out how many clients you're going to need to be able to reach that goal. So for me, if the goal is $20,000 a month, then I would need about 6 new clients a month paying me $1,200 a month or $300 a week. Or $20,000 a month, I'll need 10 new clients that are paying me $750 a month or $187.50 per week. So that's the pricing and the number of clients. But now we also need to figure out, what is the actual offer going to be? We want to make this as simple as possible so we can make the launch and the initial phase of building this business super simple. So we want to start with one-on-one coaching. Too many people, they try to have multiple offers. They want to have the low ticket. They want to have the mid-tier mastermind group. They want to have the high ticket one-on-one, coaching offer. This is going to be tough to do and also market in the beginning. Believe it or not, most people think that they should be starting with a group coaching first, and it's not going to be the best route. One-on-one coaching is going to be easier, and you build it slower, which is going to allow you to develop the skills to become a better coach and actually focus on getting a couple of people results at one time. Once you have a handful of one-on-one students and there's no set number, it's just going to come down to how comfortable you think you are, how confident you think you are to be able to get more people a result. That can be 5, 10, 15 students before you actually jump into a group offer. Once you get that number, then you can open it up to a group coaching. You're going to get to your goal much faster if you just focus on selling one offer. And also think about what you can confidently handle to get those people results. At the end of the day, that's what we're doing it for, right? We're doing it to help people and get them a result. Be real with yourself. If you're doing a group offer, you're going to have more people to handle at once at something that you've possibly never done before. One-on-one is going to give you a slower start, and it builds a more solid foundation for your real estate coaching business. So the business structure for me, I'm going to start with one-on-one coaching. The number of clients that I'm aiming for is going to be 24. So at the end of the 16 weeks, I want to have 24 clients in my program. The price of my program is either going to be $4,800 paid up front, $1,200 a month, or $300 a week. The team members that I want, and we're going to break this down so that you have a better idea, I need to have a VA, an editor, or a creative director. Now, overall, my 1-year goal, I want to be able to hit $100,000 a month with 100 clients. So that would be 70 in a mastermind, more of a group coach, and then I'll have 30 one-on-one clients. This is looking out, further into the future for a full year. Right now, my only focus is going to be on this next 16 weeks. Now, with the team members, it's going to vary based on what you want. So for me, the VA, that can be used for admin, repetitive activities such as like posting my content, doing, content research, onboarding new clients, uploading, weekly calls on there, handling any payments, things like that. Then the next person would be the editor or the creative director. Now, an editor is going to be much cheaper, and you can train them to edit your content. If the budget, or eventually when your budget gets bigger, you can get somebody that's more of a creative director that also edits, but this person is going to help you come up with content ideas and guide you with more content. So starting off, you're better off just starting with an editor. Now, the steps that you're going to take to start designing this business, number 1, determine the number of clients that you want in order to hit that revenue goal. So again, for me, I want to be making $20,000 a month in profit by the end of the 16 weeks. So in order to do that, I need to have 24 clients in my program. Now, the next part is number 2, define your offer. Again, we broke this down. For my business, it's one-on-one coaching, very simple, no other offers. It's very straight and to the point. Number 3, identify the team that you're going to need to support the clients and the offers. You don't need to start off with a VA. One of the first things I would do is, if you're not good at editing, I would definitely get an editor. You can hire an editor from the Philippines for $500 to $1,000 a month, and they can take care of a lot of your YouTube videos. They can take care of your social media. It's not a big expense, and it's going to save you a ton of time. Now, some of the key takeaways is business design should be kept simple so that it's easy for you to execute, and it should also align with the lifestyle that you planned out in stage 1. Focus on the number of clients that you want to have or that you can handle or take on, what your offer or what your offers are going to be, and then what team members you're actually going to need. And that is stage 2, business design. Now we're going to move on to stage 3, where we break down the money. This part right here in stage 3 is being realistic with yourself and seeing what is actually doable. We're going to be focusing on KPIs and where they need to be so that we can hit our revenue goals within our coaching business. In stage number 2, business design, you should have already figured out how many clients you need to hit for your revenue goal. So if you haven't done that, take the time right now, pause this video, and think it through. Figure out how many you're going to need in order to get that number. So for example, if you have 0 or 5 clients, but you're aiming for 30, then we need to be aiming for 30 or 25 new clients. Now we want to reverse engineer this entire thing so that we can figure out what's the math that's going to get us to the number of clients that we need. This is where we're going to determine what are all the inputs that we need to do to get the output that we actually want in terms of clients and revenue. So the key metrics that we're going to be looking at in KPIs, what is our ad spend? What is our cost per follow or cost per lead? What is our cost per call? What is our show rate? What is our closing rate? And then what is the cash collected? We're going to dive into the exact math so that you know exactly what your KPIs should look like, with how much you should spend on ads, how many calls you're going to need booked per week or per day, and then how many clients do you need to close. So once you have the number of clients, we're going to jump into the math now. Take the total number of clients over the next 16 weeks. So again, for me, it's going to be 24 clients over the next 16 weeks. How many clients is that per week? Break it down. So that comes out to be 1.5 clients per week or 6 clients per month. What are you willing to spend on ads to get a client? Now, when it comes to ads, typically you want to be spending about 50% of the average cash collected on the phone. So here's an example. If I'm taking paid in full at $4,800, then I'd be willing to spend $2,400 to get a client. Then I 2x on my ad spend. If I'm doing payments, then you want to try to shoot for 30 to 40% paid up front, and then the rest in payments over the course of the 16-week program. So we take 40% of $4,800. That comes out to be $1,920. Now, 50% of $1,920 is $960. This would be the number that I would be willing at max to spend on ads to get one new client. My goal would definitely be to spend a lot less, but that just kind of gives me the max and gives me a range of what I'd be willing to spend on a client. It sounds like a lot of money to spend $960 or to spend $1,000, $2,400 on a client. But if I told you to give me $1,000 and I'm going to turn it into $5,000, you would do that all day. If you're in a season where you're okay with delayed gratification and you want recurring revenue and more predictability in your business, then you would do weekly payments. You take a small percentage up front and then you do the payments. But if you're in a season of wanting to collect more money up front, you would do it paid in full. So another way to look at it, it's a little bit easier, is to pretty much look at what is a client going to pay for within the first 4 weeks to determine what your ad spend could be, right? So for example, if my program is $300 a week times 4, you're looking at $1,200 a month on ads, which is higher than the original $960 that we got from above. But obviously, I want to get it lower than $1,200 a month to acquire one client. This is just giving me a range. This is what you would be willing to spend, not what you're actually going to be spending. The reason you want to get this number of what you'd be willing to spend is so that you don't get emotional over it. I don't know if you've ever run ads, but if you have, then you know the feeling that when you start to run them, before you're even up to your budget, you've already spent about $100 to $200, and early on you're starting to think, man, I don't know about these ads, man. Like, the lead quality is just not good. That is just you getting emotional, and you're not giving it enough time to even test it and do its thing within the algorithm. So now you have how much you're willing to spend on one client. So in my math, in my business, that looks like $960 to $1,200 a month. If you want to get 6 clients per month, then I would have to multiply that amount that I spend per client. So, for example, I would take 6 clients per month times 960, and that's going to get me $57.60 a month in ads that I can spend to get to that goal. Now, again, this number is high, so we will more than likely spend a lot less, but this way we have a goal of what would be the absolute max that we can spend to have somewhat of a target to get to our revenue goal. Now, when we're looking at key metrics, after the ads, we need to figure out how much is it going to cost us to get a lead and book them into a call. Everyone's cost is going to be different in the next few key metrics because it's all going to come down to the price of their program and how much we're actually willing to spend to acquire the client. Somebody that has a $10,000 program is willing to spend more than somebody that has a $3,000 program. So we're going to just stick to industry averages and percentages so you have a good idea. Your leads to call is going to be basically 5%. Now, what does 5% actually mean? We're going to be using the social funnel, which is the strategy that I'm using and that I also teach. So with the social funnel, we're running ads to get people to follow us. Our leads are a follower. So for every 100 followers, I want to be booking in 5% of those followers onto a call. That's the standard. The minimum is going to be 2.5%. So out of every 100 followers, the minimum that I should be booking in calls is 2.5 calls. Now, just a side note, you're never going to get 100% lead quality. You can expect to get 20 to 30% to be qualified, and that doesn't even mean that that's going to be people that can afford your program or even be your exact avatar, but they're at least going to be within your niche. So for you and I, that's going to be within the real estate niche. Now, the next part is the percentage that we want our calls to actually show up. Now, we're not going to get 100% show up rate. That would be amazing, but that's just not how things work. So what we're shooting for is at least a 70% show rate. So every 10 calls that I book, I want 7 people to show up. 80% should be the goal, and 65 should be the minimum. Now, your closing rate, once you get those people to show up, you want to have your percentage of closing. If you're closing the calls yourself, which you should be at least in the beginning, we're really aiming for a third or 33%. If you're closing below 25%, there is something wrong. Either the prospects that you're getting are not qualified enough, or you're just not good at closing on the phone. The goal should be with your closing rate to get it between 50 and 60%. Whenever you hire a closer to do your sales calls in the future, they're usually going to close at about 50% of what you're doing. So if you're at 50%, they're going to be at 25%. So you want to try to get your number as high as possible. Now, the last part is going to be the cash collected. If you're doing paid in full upfront, obviously you want to just take on the full payment. If you're going to split it into payments, then you want to try to get at least 40% of your price collected on the phone. Now, if you're above 60% cash collected that you're getting on the phone, then you might need to increase your price. If you increase the price and you took in less clients, then you'd be making the same amount of money. If you're below 40% on your cash collected, let's say you're collecting 20%, then either your price is too high or it could be your ability to actually close them and get a higher percentage of your cash collected on the phone. Now, we have all these industry percentages and averages and standards. Now we want to reverse engineer and we want to work backwards. And it's going to tell you exactly how much you can spend to get a lead. Now, a lead for us, again, is either going to be a follower or a DM. That's all going to depend on the ad that you decide to run. Now, number one, you want to take the number of clients per week, which was 6 per month, so 1.5 per week, and now take that closing rate and we're going to divide it. So the closing rate was 33%. So 1.5 per week divided by 0.33, that gives me 4.5. So rounded up, that's 5 calls per week. That's my show up rate. If my show rate is 70%, I would take the number of calls, so 5, and I divide that by 0.7, which is going to give me 6.49 or 7 calls booked per week. If I'm booking 7 calls per week and then my lead to call ratio at minimum, let's say it's 2.5%, you're going to take that 7 calls and you're going to divide it by 0.025. This is going to give me 280 leads per week. So this is pretty much how many followers I need to be aiming for on a weekly basis. If we divide the 280 followers per week by 7, because there's 7 days in a week, I need to be hitting 40 followers per day. Number 4, you divide the 280 followers per week that I need to hit by 7, which is the amount of days in a week. So I need to be hitting 40 followers per day. Now, you take the 40 followers a day, you times that by 30, which is how many days we have in a month, and I need to be hitting at least 1,200 followers per month. Now, number 6, if we take the max that we're willing to spend on ads, and which in my case it was $960 per client, times 6 clients a month, that was $57.60 a month on ads. Take that amount on ads, so the $57.60 a month, and you're going to divide that by 1,200 followers a month. It's going to cost me $4.80 per follower. Now, this is going to be for running follower ads. And again, $4.80 per follower, if you've ever run follower ads or profile visit ads, as they call them on Instagram, you know that this is high. Typically, you can get followers for 50 cents to about $2. If you want to run DM ads, this is where you're going to have a more direct approach and you want somebody to DM you for more information, or let's say you have a lead magnet and you want to give that out. Those numbers are going to change. What changes is going to be your lead to call. So instead of it being 2.5% to 5%, like the follower ad, with DM ads, that's going to change to about 10% to 15%. The intent of a DM as a call to action in an ad is going to be much higher than the intent of having someone follow you. So if somebody is DMing you, that means they're very interested. So it should be much higher, 10 to 15%. Now here's a little visual for those that like to see it drawn out. See if I can move this a little bit. So this is your follower ads on top. You have your ads to followers, and then your follower leads to call. You want to book in 2.5 to 5% as a standard. Then your calls to show rate, we're looking to get a 70% show rate. We're looking to close about a third or 33%. And then we're looking to collect 40% in cash collected. Now, it's the same exact thing down here for your DM ads. The only thing that's going to change is this part right here. So from DM to booking a call, it's going to be a higher percentage of 10 to 15%. So if you get 100 DMs, you're looking to book 10 to 15 calls from those 100 DMs. That's the only thing that changes. But this is just a visual so you can see it just drawn out. Now, the next part is going to be stage 4, and that is the launch pad. Let me take a little quick sip real quick because my mouth is getting dry. All right. So stages 1 through 3 is going to be a lot of thinking and planning. You want to be intentional and do not rush through this part. Let it take as long as it needs to, whether that's 5 days, 7 days, a full week, or even 30. Speaking from past experience, I wish that I would have taken my time with my other content agency and just really thought it through. This time, I took about 30 days. We've got the target, we got the KPIs, we got the cost of acquiring a client, so now let's not get emotional about this shit. Now that you completed 1 through 3, it's time to actually launch it. Your launch is pretty much going to be you setting up your pre-call funnel, your ad creatives, launching your ads, content output, getting the leads in, setting those leads in your DMs, and then booking your sales calls. Some of the key mistakes that are made in this phase are, 1, they don't have their KPIs or their numbers in front of them daily or weekly. Have those numbers, your KPIs, on a whiteboard or somewhere that you can actually see it every day or weekly. This launch phase is so that we can get proof that we're getting it rolling and we have a target to try and aim at. The goal here is to make sure that the launch is highly likely to succeed. 90% of the time, it's going to be profitable. In the beginning, we're looking to either break even or get a 2x profit on ad spend. 10% of the time, it's not going to work. You spend too much on ads, you didn't get the followers you expected, you didn't book enough calls, and you weren't good at selling the few that you actually got. We mapped out the KPIs and the numbers so that you don't get emotional about this process. Or maybe within the first 2 to 3 weeks, the ads aren't really getting the qualified leads that you expected, but because you ran the numbers and you learned what you're willing to spend, you stick it through for the first 30 days to get the data that's actually needed so you know what to do next. Now, before you make any changes, make sure that you stick to the plan and what you originally said you'd be willing to spend. So, for example, if the max was $960 for me to acquire one client, that's what I'm willing to spend on a month of ads before I ever think about pivoting. In this initial launch, you're not looking to close a ton of clients. You might close one client if you spend the number to acquire the client. But more importantly, you want to see if you're getting the right leads and you're actually booking calls. So let's say I spend $960, I book 7 calls, 4 show up, 2 out of the 4 are super qualified leads, then I would just keep it going and I wouldn't change anything. I would keep spending a bit more and keep testing it. Some of the key takeaways in this launch phase: figure out your numbers for the launch, aka your KPIs, and don't get emotional about it. Set realistic goals on your ad spend and your sales goals based on your closing rate and the industry average KPIs that we went over. Most people are going to seek success in the launch, but we have to actually stay in it long enough and we have to be willing to actually spend the ad budget to see it through. Remove the ego, remove the emotions, and just stick to the numbers, the data. At the end of the day, we cannot control who Facebook or Instagram decides to show our ads to. We can try to dial in the messaging, we can try to qualify harder, but a lot of times we're going to try to put the blame on the ads, and it's not the ads. It's actually the things that we do have control over, like how many outbound DMs are we sending out to every new follower? How are we setting the leads properly within our DMs? And then your closing ratio, or you're not collecting enough cash up front. Use this stage of launching to actually build the momentum and start adding some clients quickly. This is going to give you the confidence so that you can keep pushing and confidently spend on ads. The next stage is going to be number 5, which is feedback. Once you launch, you're going to start to get data and feedback from your ads, your content, and your new clients. Now it's time to start actually looking at the performance of everything and start making adjustments where needed. So in this period, you're going to start to look at how much you're spending per follower, what's your cost per call, what's your show up rate, and then what is your lead and follower quality. Now, what we're trying to do over the next 30 days is set a baseline. We're not going to come out the gates in this launch and hit our KPIs to perfection. The goal is to establish the baseline. Don't shoot for perfection. The point of the baseline is so that we can know what numbers not to go under anymore and how can we actually improve those numbers going forward. With the new baseline and data, there's 2 things that we can do. Number 1, make a major change. If you spent your entire ad budget for the month, but you didn't book a single call, you didn't get a single lead or follower that was even close to being qualified, it can actually be your ad creatives. So we might need to try different angles. It could be the niche that you chose. It can be the offer itself or who you're trying to reach or serve. Something went wrong and you need a major change. Now, the second thing is make a small adjustment. So if you spent the ad budget for the month and you got some qualified leads, but you know it could be better over time, don't change the offer, don't change the pricing, don't change the niche. The adjustments can be made in the ad creatives, in the messaging, things like that, other elements. Typically, we want to change the ad creative first and test just another angle. If you're not familiar with what I mean by angle, well, let me break it down. Using me as an example of my business, one angle that I can use and test is, hey, are you a real estate coach that is stuck at $10,000 a month and you want to get $20,000 a month and beyond? The best way to do that is going to be with the social funnel. The second angle I can test out is, hey, if you're a real estate investor or you're a realtor and you're burned out from your business and looking for a way to start a lifestyle coaching business, you need the social funnel. Another angle I can also test is you got into real estate coaching because you wanted to have more time with your family and you wanted to be able to travel, but yet you still find yourself not having the time and having a hard time structuring the business. What you're missing is the social funnel. These adjustments are small tweaks and we're still doing the same offer. So it's a very small percentage of the time where you're going to actually have to go and completely go back and restart from stage 2 and replan the entire thing again. When we create these new angles, we're adding them to our ad campaign. What we're not going to do is turn off the ads after a week and then start new ones, to then turn those off next week and then keep trying new ones. We have to test out in the beginning and for a solid 30 days, let it run and just keep adding new angles to it. Keep in mind that your first launch is not going to be your best, which is why we're not shooting for perfection here. We're trying to test and improve forever. Even if you get to the revenue goal that you want, you're always going to be testing new ad creatives and angles. Winner ads stop to work after a while. Things change, markets change, so you're always going to be testing new stuff. Another thing is you want to be engaging with your leads and your followers and also the new clients that you're getting to get as much feedback as possible. Check your sales calls and your DMs to see exactly what people are saying, and if you're starting to see a pattern, well, that could be something that you can use as an angle within your ad creatives. And also make sure to pay attention to your lead quality, because maybe you're getting a ton of followers and DMs, but the leads aren't exactly the avatar that you're trying to go after. All right, so now we're at stage 6, which is the final stage. This is where you're going to scale and stay consistent. This is actually going to be the hardest stage of all of them, and it's not for the reasons that you're thinking. This is actually where boredom might actually kick in. We have a tendency to take something that works, we get bored because it's working, and then we want to start changing shit around. The beginning is fun because it's new, we're launching, we're building, we're testing, we're adjusting, and then all of a sudden it works and it's exciting. Then we get bored, then we start to get cocky, and we think that we know exactly what we're doing, and we want to add things or we want to change the offer to something better. After you get the feedback and you make the minor adjustments that are needed, keep testing that out for a little bit. Once you start to find that things are really clicking, your lead quality is up, you're getting the consistent calls booked, and then people are actually showing up, well, here comes the next part. Typically, this is where you're going to want to increase your ad spend. It's the number one way for you to get more volume, and you're going to be way more confident in doing so now because a lot of the testing has been done, and you just want to increase the performance of your KPIs overall. But that is once you're ready to scale. You don't need to worry about that. If it's working, you can keep it working. That's if you're just ready to increase the volume. But the biggest thing is to stay consistent, make sure you're sticking to your KPIs and doing what's working. Again, this is where entrepreneurs tend to fuck things up. Things are working, clients are joining, clients are getting results, and things start to seem a little too easy or they start to get a little bit boring. So naturally, we start to look for ways to make things better and do the opposite. Avoid the temptation to change anything if the process is working. Now, to scale up, again, just increase ad spend, scale up your operations, and this also might be the time to hire a salesperson to get back your time and keep tracking those KPIs. But stay consistent with your content output, take those sales calls, and coaching your clients for success. Now, you want to set your goals every 16 weeks. 16 weeks is enough time to test things, give you data, really try things out, and get you a result. So set your goals for 16 weeks so that you can adapt and you can stay focused. After 16 weeks, look at what goals you originally had set, and then from there, set new goals for the next 16 weeks and based on the progress that you made already. Stages 1 through 5 are typically going to take you about 1 to 1.5 months. And then the rest of the time is just about being consistent for 60 to 90 days. Some of the key takeaways: once you've found a successful strategy, be extremely consistent with it. I also struggled with this before in the past, but you want to stay consistent. Focus on improving over time and scaling based on your KPI numbers. Maintain the path that you set out for at least 16 weeks so you can track the progress and be able to actually reach it. Set your goals in 16-week periods due to how fast things can actually change online. Now, to close it out, this was the breakdown of my business, my numbers, so that you can see exactly what I'm going to be implementing, or depending on when this video gets released, on what I've already started to implement. My main goal for the video was to show you how the 6 stages break down so that you can also start to use this and build out or scale up your coaching business. Now, I laid it all out so that you can see, but of course, like anything, there's definitely going to be questions that come up within the process or while you're implementing, or there might just be people that are looking for more accountability or guidance. Now, if that's you and you want help implementing this for your real estate coaching business, then go ahead and reach out to me because I would love to help out and help you get started with it. The best way that you're going to reach me is through Instagram. So just shoot me a DM. Use the keyword 6 stages so that I know that you watch this all the way to the end and you have a really good understanding of what it's all going to take. So I'll be waiting for your message. I know this video is super valuable, super helpful. I'm out, and I will catch you guys on the next training.